Welcome to Histamine Health Coach, where we navigate life with histamine intolerance and find ways to feel our best. I'm Teresa, your histamine health coach, and today we're talking about antihistamines, specifically H1s and H2s, and how they play a role in managing histamine-related symptoms. For much of my life, antihistamines were part of my daily routine. By the time I turned to functional medicine for help with my histamine intolerance, and more specifically, mast cell activation syndrome, I was taking 7 antihistamines a day, all prescribed by my allergist. This past week, after more than 3 years, I can happily say I've finally cleared the rest of my antihistamines out of my medicine cabinet. I found H1s, H2s, PPIs, asthma inhalers, eye drops, and even nose sprays. Each of these, at one point or another, had been part of my treatment plan. This all turned around when my allergist told me he was retiring. That felt like the right moment to stop and reconsider. Do I really want to keep medication stacking, or is it time to explore another approach? Before I moved to Chicago and connected with my allergist, who specialized in mastocytosis, Allegra and Zantac were my constant companion. I'd take it daily, sometimes multiple times a day. My congestion was often triggered by things as simple as drinking a Diet Coke at breakfast, or walking into work and being hit with what I can only assume were the carpet fibers and dust in the building. My go-to for relief was children's liquid Allegra. I kept it in my desk because it was easy to just take a quick sip from the bottle whenever I needed relief. And the Zantac played a role in helping my GI complications on almost a daily basis. Looking back, it's so clear to me how complicated my relationship with histamine really was, and why understanding H1s and H2s matter so much. Don't get me wrong, there's absolutely a time and place for medications. They can be incredibly helpful when they're truly needed, but they aren't the only answer. For me, when someone asks me what I take for a headache, my response is usually that I don't reach for anything right away. Instead, I try to figure out why I have a headache and address it at the root. That said, if I'm in the middle of a full-blown migraine and in significant pain, yes, I'll take an over-the-counter medication to get relief, and then I go back and look for the cause. The point is, for me, medication isn't an everyday solution anymore. It's a tool I use thoughtfully, when necessary, while still focusing on the bigger picture of what my body actually needs. I was on my morning walk the other day, listening to an audiobook, and the author used a term I hadn't heard before, me-search. I took it to mean the kind of research we do when we desperately try to figure out how to help ourselves. And I thought, that's exactly what I've been doing for years. In many ways, this podcast is my way of sharing that me search, everything I've learned along the way, so you don't feel like you have to piece it all together on your own. And that brings me to histamine itself, because it plays a crucial role in our bodies, affecting everything from allergies to digestion. For many women, understanding histamine's impact can feel overwhelming, especially when histamine intolerance is involved. This is where H1 and H2 antihistamines come in. They're two of the most common classes of medications prescribed to help manage symptoms. Both work by blocking histamine receptors, but each type targets different parts of the body. The H1 antihistamines are the ones most people are familiar with. They're typically used for allergies, hives, runny nose, watery eyes, and itching. Examples of H1s are Allegra, Zyrtec, Claritin, and even Benadryl. In my own case, I primarily used Allegra because it didn't make me sleepy. I had enough fatigue as it was, and I didn't need antihistamines contributing to that. H2s, on the other hand, act on the stomach. They're often used for reducing stomach acid, managing reflux or heartburn, and in some cases, calming histamine symptoms linked to mast cell activation. Examples of H2s are Zantac, Pepcid, and Tagamet. For many years, Zantac was part of my daily regimen. When it was pulled off the shelves by the FDA in 2020, I panicked. I didn't know what I was going to do. Honestly, I stocked up on it, but that only carried me for a few months. At the time, Zantac wasn't just prescribed for acid, it was also part of a broader histamine blocking strategy. Some physicians prescribe both H1s and H2 antihistamines together, especially for people with severe allergies, chronic hives, or mast cell issues. The idea is that blocking histamine at multiple receptor sites provide broader coverage. That's exactly how I ended up with such a long medication list. One pill here for allergies, another there for reflux, and eventually everything stacks up to 7 a day. But here's what I've learned. While antihistamines can provide relief, they aren't the only solution. For many women, especially those with histamine intolerance or mast cell activation syndrome, medication is just one piece of the puzzle. Hormones, stress, food, and environment all play a role in how histamine behaves in the body. That's why taking a holistic approach can make such a difference. For me, functional medicine opened the door to lifestyle change, nutrition, stress management strategies that helped me step away from relying solely on prescriptions. So here's a simple breakdown. H1 antihistamines help with allergies, hives, and itching. H2 antihistamines help with reflux and stomach acid issues. Sometimes doctors will combine the two for stronger coverage, and while that can be helpful tools, they're not the only way to calm histamine symptoms. Understanding these differences gives you more confidence when talking to your doctor and more clarity about your own choices. So, whether you're currently taking antihistamines or simply curious about how they fit into histamine intolerance, I hope today's episode gave you some clarity and encouragement. Thank you so much for listening. If this episode resonated with you or you know someone who could benefit from this information, please share it with them. If you'd like more support, head over to my website, histaminehealthcoach.com, and you'll find resources like the Can I Eat This blog series and the option to book a quick chat with me. I help women just like you calm their symptoms, recognize their triggers, and feel more confident in their daily lives. You don't have to do this alone, and I'd love to connect with you. Until next time, though, stay curious, stay kind to yourself, and keep listening to your body. Have a great day.